Hi, Shiloh family. Danielle Babin here. I have a quick testimony to share with you. I just got back from a women's conference at Connecticut and went to Gateway Church, Lance and Darlene being our dear friends' church. And I spoke at a ladies' conference, and it was a really special time. A really powerful testimony that I want to share with you today was we did a activation on discovering your name meaning, and it was through the Baby Name book. And it really was a fun exercise we did at family camp together that I thought, man, this would be a really good exercise to unpackage and share with the women of Gateway at this conference. And so I did this activation. And in the activation, you write down your name, origin, where it's from, and I start handing out the book to all the women in the crowd. And there was around 40 women, so it was a good group, and they all were filling out their names and putting their information of, what their name meant and their scripture verse associated with their name. And as I'm handing out the book, I realized, oh my goodness, there's a lot of different cultures here. So I walk up to one of the women, and I said, how are you doing? You're able to find your name? She goes, no, I'm not able to find my name. I just knew it. I knew I wasn't going to be able to find my name. And I thought, oh no, what is your name? And she said, my name is Brunelda. And I thought, oh my goodness, we are definitely not going to find your name. And I just kind of held it together and thought, okay, Brunelda, what else do you go by? And she said, Bruni. And I said, okay, Bruni, let's go and let's look for your root. Let's look for the root portion of your name. And so we dug around and we looked in the book and we found the root being Bruno. And Bruno had next to it different variations, which Bruni was one of them. So I'm like, hey, here we go. We found you. And we went through and I had her kind of validate what her name meaning meant. Their origin was German. The color was brown. The spiritual connotation was like gentleness. I think that was what it was, gentleness. And I just had her, is this true? Is this true? She's like, yes, yes. And then we got to her scripture and it was Philippians 4:19. And I read it to her and I said, is this mean anything to you? And she looked at me with these big eyes. I will always remember her face with just astonishment. And she goes, this is tattooed right here on my wrist. The Lord is speaking. He is real. And I was so in awe of the Lord just showing up. Here I was in this group of women from multiple different countries. And I didn't think about this when I did the activation, thinking, they're not going to find their names in this book. You have this kind of more of Americanized name meaning book. And I didn't think about that when I did the activation. But as I'm handing out the book, I just had to lean into the Lord and say, Lord, you're going to have to show up. You love these women so much. You want to speak to them. And I'm handing out these books like, Lord, please speak to her. Lord, help her find her name. I don't think her name's going to be in here, Lord, but please. And it was so cool to see how intentional he is, how purposeful he is. He is speaking all the time. And he met Brunelda exactly where she needed to be met, that he spoke to her so personally about the scripture verse that was her life scripture and put that in the baby name book for her. And I had her share that testimony, and all the women in the group were celebrating with her that the Lord loves her and he cares about her. So I want to encourage you, Shiloh, that the Lord does care about every single detail of your life. I want to encourage you that Psalms 37:23 says that the Lord directs the steps of the godly, and he delights in every detail of their lives. And I want you to know that he is purposeful. He cares about those details that are important to you, and he's always around speaking. He's always available. Even when I felt like I maybe wasn't able to maybe produce something or speak to them, I just had to trust God. And I let that go. And I know it's like, Lord, you are big and you are good and you care about your children and you're going to speak. And he did. And one testimony after another, a woman would come up after another, sharing the testimony of how they got revelations from their name meaning, how they connected to God, how the Lord spoke to them through the conference or through that process of that exercise. And so I want to encourage you, just seek the Lord. He loves you. He cares about you. And he's in all the details. Love you guys. We'll see you soon.